broadcasting to the nations of the world.
This is the Nations Hour. We welcome you once again to the Nations Hour. Today is a great day, and today is the day of joy because we're going to talk about the importance of the family. Do you know that it is the Lord who chose your family for you? God helped you to choose your husband, your wife, and it's God who placed your children in that home. And therefore, God is delighted when there is joy, there is peace, there is happiness, there is unity at home. Wife is united with husband, husband united with wife, and with the children. That is the reason why, as this word comes your way, I pray that God will give you the grace, the desire, the willingness. God should give you a heart of flesh, that the word that is coming your way will change your home and transform your life so that peace will reign. Stay tuned.
When God brought the two together, and Adam was enamored with her and just couldn't even find words to describe Eve, God was watching. And after that, he pronounced a blessing upon them. And this is very, very important. See, if you follow the pattern, then marriage becomes a blessing. And you don't have all these arguments and all these fightings that sometimes do characterize many marriages. It's important you take note of these things. You live in order to cleave or join, because if you go into a relationship with everybody, it becomes difficult to cleave to your spouse. If you come along with mother, you come along with father, you come along with brother, you come along with sister, and some will even come along with friends. It becomes difficult. It is like marriage requires, if you look at this pattern, requires our undivided attention. From relationships that will draw us away from, see, I'm not saying you drop all your friends, but we're talking about priority now. They are not as important. Your friends are not as important as your spouse. And at this point in your life, even father and mother are not as important to you as your spouse. And this is where we make this horrible mistake. We think that everybody else, these are the people that I was raised up with. They are so important. Yes, they are. And they will always remain important, but not more important than your spouse. Hallelujah. That was what God told him. And this is what we keep reminding people every time we bless their marriages. We live in order to cleave, because it's like if you go to a place and you don't know anyone, you're a total stranger in the town. You just moved to Canada. Do you know that if you meet someone you know, automatically you just bond? You left Jamaica coming here knowing nobody. Then all of a sudden, you go to the mall and you meet a handsome person like the one you left behind. You see the point? Instantly, you bond. Because you can connect. You can connect here. So it's important we leave these relationships in order for us to be able to cleave to our spouses. And then when he says join, it has the idea of both passion and permanence. See, we are leaving them in order to join with them, to join with our spouses, not just for a week, not just for a month, please don't go into your relationship with the mindset that maybe in 2 years I'll leave. No. Sometimes people think like that. I'm going to try it out. If it doesn't work, I leave. No. You can try many things, but when it comes to marriage, please go in with the mindset that you want to make it work. And the word one flesh includes sexual union, child conception, spiritual and emotional intimacy. And before I move on, when he says, and you shall become one flesh, it means all of that. That is why I said we can have many helpers, but not every one of them can fit us. You can have a dog as a friend, but that would not help you emotionally. That cannot help you spiritually. They may help you emotionally, but you can have spiritual intimacy with them. And then one of the most important elements as you study the Hebrew is when he says, and the two shall become one flesh, he's talking about mutual respect for one another. That is one of the most important elements in that relationship. So you must understand that your spouse is not your boy that you can just order about, or your spouse is not a maid you can just order about. We need to understand that we must respect our spouses, regardless of the age differences that we may have between us. The man could be 25 and the lady could be 30 years. It still does not make the man your boy. Am I right? Yes. It does not make the man your boy. No. You can be taller than your man, but it does not change anything. You can be bigger than your wife, it does not change anything. You must understand that when he says one flesh, he's talking about mutual respect for one another. Because, you see, nobody will hurt himself, will you? Unless something is wrong with your control tower, your head. Am I right? If something is wrong with your head, obviously you will be hurting yourself. You will be, am I right? But if your head is right, your head is, like it's often said, correct, then you will not hurt yourself. So we must understand when we talk about mutual respect, it is critical that you know your wife or your husband. You see, your spouse is not somebody you look down upon. Sometimes people are in relationships and yet they look down on one another. Where are you from? It's from where Eve came from. Am I right? From your side. She's part of you. Regardless of how she looks, regardless of her accent. You must understand these things because this is what God is talking about. God says that for this reason a man will leave his father, his mother, the man will leave his family and then cleave to his wife. And then the two shall become one flesh. We need to respect one another. We draw strength, support from one another. But more importantly, we need to respect one another. And this is where we miss it. In some relationships, people are barking at each other and they're just fighting They are always arguing. It's like they cannot, for a moment, sit down and love one another except in bed. I don't know how they do it, but those who fight the most have more kids. No, that's not part. No, that's not part of my preaching. No, sometimes, sometimes I wonder. If you're married, you understand. Because when the man needs you, he's going to apologize and be so nice. And am I right, man? Ladies know that. The man will come and beg and apologize. And, oh, it was the devil who told you. See, the man's going to say, oh, no, it wasn't me. You know how I love you. It was just the devil. No. So I just explained to you how the babies do show up, despite all the argument and all the fighting. But we need to understand that your spouse is somebody God has specially designed, put together to help you, to move forward in life. So you must respect that individual. You must accept that person. And it's not like, oh, I made a wrong choice here, so I'm going to mistreat you till you run away. Please don't do that. Don't do that. We must love and we must respect one another. It's important. We must. You see, we should also understand that all this barking and shouting at each other is a travesty. It's not something that God designed for marriage. It's not part of it. It's a distortion of the marriage relationship. The meanness in marriage, the way we attack one another. And some of us, to be very honest with you, you wonder if we have really come to terms with the fact that marriage requires that we love our spouse. If you go to Matthew chapter 19, let's read verse 3. The Pharisees also came to him, testing him and saying to him, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for just any reason? Just any reason. Today, I just don't feel good about you. The reason to get rid of your spouse. You don't know how to cook. Reason number 2. You snore too much. Reason number 3. You this. Reason number 4. So they went to Jesus. And they asked him this question. They asked him. If you look at the verse again, the Pharisees also came to him, testing him and saying to him, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for just any reason? You just don't know how to cook. You just don't know how to treat me well. You don't attract. You're not as attractive to me as before. They have reasons. They came up with reasons. And he answered and said to them, have you not read that he who made them at the beginning made them male and female? And said, for this reason, remember, I told you that God himself was the one who pronounced that blessing. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. He was asking them. You see, this is the main reason every time we bless marriage. This statement is loaded. It's not just an ordinary statement. It is what we pronounce. God says you find comfort in your spouse. You'll be able to procreate. You'll be able to do these things. All of that is in this. And he said, have you not read that when he brought them together, he pronounced this upon them. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So then, they are no longer two, but one flesh. You and your spouse are one. And if your spouse is here, you are there with him or her. If your spouse is there, you are also there with him or her. You are one. Therefore, we need to protect one another, respect one another. Because if we love our wives, we love ourselves. If we love our husbands, we love ourselves. We're just one. One. Don't think that you can put down your spouse and then you will look good. No. You're one. So it's just like something is not working right. That's why all of a sudden you are, behaving like that and kicking your foot against a stone and hurting yourself and bleeding. See, when you do that, it shows you have missed it. You've made a mistake. And then look at this. So then, they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let not man separate. They said to him, why then did Moses command to give a certificate of divorce and to put her away? They are now challenging Jesus. Jesus took them to the original. He said, this is the way God designed marriage to work. And then they said, but what about Moses? Moses told us, if you don't like her, just sack her. And so what do you mean by that, Jesus? And then he made a profound statement, which all of us must understand. He said, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, permitted you to divorce your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. God did not design that, but some of us can be very mean. Some of us can be brutal. Some of us can be very wicked to our spouses. But I believe that a child of God should not go to that extent of brutalizing your spouse and making your wife miserable. Sometimes you've seen in some relationships that the other person takes undue advantage and suppresses the other individual to the point where the person even loses self-esteem. The man can do that to the wife, and the wife can do that to the man. And to the extent that one's life begins to go into a very, very messy state because of the way the other person treats the other one. You must understand that. I always say this. If you don't like your friend, you can avoid your friend. But if your marriage is not working right, you notice it can really affect you. Because it's not an ordinary relationship. Two people that have become one. So the person's attitude will affect you. If the person is negative, the person is not reassuring, the person does not give you room to even make decisions for yourself, please, I don't know where we got this idea from. Some of us will not even allow our spouses to make decisions pertaining to even themselves. It's like they think it is religious and spiritual for them to look at even the dress their wives wear. Don't look at mine either. Let's move on. Are you here? See, be free in your relationships. Just be nice to your spouse. This is the way God designed it. Moses permitted them on account of the hardness of their hearts. the wickedness. But you see, these things are so with unbelievers. But my pain is that even in the house of God, in the church, you find people who are like that. The way they mistreat their spouses, the way they treat them. It shouldn't be so. You see, if nobody will want a divorce if they are treated with respect and with love. Am I right? Nobody will want a divorce. So Jesus came to heal our hearts and to take the meanness and the wickedness from us. So Christian marriages should be much better than that of unbelievers. And so your marriage must be better. Yes, you may face challenges, but you have Christ. You can go to God and say to God, please help me. Help me. Instead of you acting out the way you used to act before you came to the Lord. He said Moses permitted that because remember that they were religious but did not have a change of heart. In the Old Testament, God gave a promise that in the New Testament, he would remove our hearts of stone and give us a heart of flesh. He will write his word on our hearts. In other words, he will put his spirit in us. We will be different. And everyone who is born again can tell you that indeed, before I came to Christ, I was like this. Now I'm like that. So we should also allow God to heal our marriages. This morning, if you've been arguing and fighting and making your home a place of discomfort for one another, have you noticed that if your spouse is unhappy, you too will not be happy? If you are unhappy, your spouse will not be happy. And therefore, it shows the relationship that we have. We have different kinds of relationships. Sometimes you can ignore others. But when it comes to your spouse, you can't ignore him or her. If your spouse is in pain, is in tears, is unhappy, it will affect you. One of the things I sometimes meditate upon when it comes to marriage is what Jesus said. He said, Moses permitted divorce on account of the hardness of your heart. That shows that the person who is not born again, who does not have a change of heart, is very difficult to be married to. This is the reason the Bible tells us that, you see, God wants to spare us all this pain and agony and tears when he says, don't marry unbelievers. Because a person who is not born again, a person who does not have a heart that is transformed and renewed, can be wicked, can be mean, and some of them are so hard. You wonder if they are human beings. No. The way people treat one another in their relationships, sometimes you just wonder if they are born again. It's Christ who changes the heart. That's why forget about the money the person has or the beauty or the stature. Make sure the person is a child of God. Because when the going gets tough, you pray, God is going to touch that man. That man will come to church, or that woman will come to church and hear a message like this, and then will apologize and you have a better home. But if you're married to an unbeliever, every time he hears the word of God, he turns off the dial. He switches on. He doesn't want to hear anything about God. With a mean heart, you will be the one who will bear the brunt of it, the brunt of the wickedness. And let's cut all these arguments, all this fighting, all this meanness in our marriages. Let's love one another. Yes, if we begin from today and we ask God, help us. And for those of us who are not married, please, it's not far from you. It's very close, closer than you think. Because somebody just spotted you and is praying and it will soon approach. You know that. So every time we talk about marriage, don't say, oh, I'm not married. Somebody is thinking about you. Am I right? As long as you are alive and you are mingling with people, somebody has spotted you. It's amazing. It's amazing how these things work. Don't also say, oh, nobody cares about me. Please, don't say those things. People care. Just ask God to open your eyes. Because sometimes the person is showing signs, and yet you just don't seem to connect the dots. You see, everybody says hi, but this person says hi. You know, it's different. It's different. And then you keep praying. You just got your answer. See? Everyone says hi and it's gone. But this person's hi is very long. It's prolonged. So I always believe that they are around. The people are here. They haven't gone anywhere. They are here. They are looking at you. They care. They are praying. One of the secrets that sometimes ladies don't know. Not every man is bold, eh? Oh, not every man is bold. So if you see, a little shaking, know that God is speaking to you. Shall we rise? Let's give God praise.
I trust that God, by His grace, has spoken to you. And God is changing your life. You will be the father of your home, the mother of your home, and the children will submit to their parents so that the will and the power of God will reign in that house, so that there will be joy, there will be peace. If there's confusion in your home, why don't you pick up the phone and call and believe with someone so that God will dismantle the activities of the enemy in your house, so that the house that you live in will be a house of peace and a house of joy. Call us right now. We want to agree with you. We want to believe with you. When two agree and pray together, there is a miracle, because one will chase 1,000, but two will chase 10,000. We know that you've been blessed. God has spoken to you. And from today, your home is going to be a place where there's peace and there is joy. Thank you so much for tuning in. We want to tell you that we appreciate you, and we look forward to another week when God is bringing back to you again His word to fill you, to promote you, to heal you, and to bless you. Have a great day. God bless you.
This program has been made possible by the members and partners of All Nations Full Gospel Churches International.